Today on Benny's Custom Works, we're pulling the engine out of the Cresta. Happy place. Nailed it. You did good, engine. You did good. More coolant. We've got the engine out of the way. A lot of rear-wheel drive cars, you've got this issue where once you have the engine out of the bay, there's no way to support your transmission, be it a manual or an automatic. I actually learnt this trick on my first year of my apprenticeship at an old taxi joint where we used to pull the engines in and out all the time. Just get a jack stand, in this case a ratcheting one. Basically sit on your engine cross member, slide it into the box, and then that'll now support the box so it won't fall down, it won't damage anything. So nice and easy trick. Doesn't really require any special tools. Everyone's pretty much got some jack stands lying around, so good tip as opposed to just leaving a jack under it and potentially the jack sagging and stretching cables or ripping out trans lines or things like that. So nice mechanical lock to hold the box in the right place. We've got the engine out of the Cresta. Everything all went pretty smoothly. So now we're going to chuck it in my Falcon, which is also barra powered, and we're going to go to Empire and tear this thing apart. This is Omar. He's the master of barras down here at Empire. He screwed this engine together for us originally. It's served us really well, so we're both really keen to see what's inside this. Well, what's happened to the insides of this engine, and we're about to tear it apart together. I'm a bit of a barra noob, so you can lead the way and I can work out how to undo the bolts in what order. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's the genuine Ford non-turbo part number. And you can see we just pulled these out of our engine. So there's no secret cams in here or anything. These were literally standard non-turbo cams because this did start out as a $100 non-turbo engine. And we've really done the basics to make this thing just work. Like Omar's got really good combos, and evidently you don't need cams to make 700 plus horsepower.
No.
Same with this cam. This was the inlet cam. So it's just factory Ford cam. As Omar mentioned, we've had tiny little bit of pickup on the end of the cam. So there's a bit of pitting there. So with that in mind, we will replace this cam and we'll also replace the rocker. It would still work like this, but it's just not going to be in anyone's best interest to try running this again. It will damage stuff, and while we're here, it's literally parts bin rating for stuff that's sitting around the shop most likely, and we'll just get it back together. Well, I don't want to go putting it on the 2J pedestal. These are still a really good bang for buck engine.
100%.
2J's got 25 years of global R&D and aftermarket support. So considering these things are just slapped together in Australia, and really the only aftermarket support is Australian, I think these things do pretty well in comparison to a 2J. 2Js are still superior, I believe, to these, but you're also spending big bucks.
That's right.
Whereas you can get one of these together for, you could build one at home.
That's right.
To this spec.
Yeah.
Relatively cheaply in comparison to a 2J.
100%, yeah.
Like for a start, you're not looking for a $3,000 engine to rebuild.
Right.
Like this is literally a $100 engine.
$100 wrecker engine, that's right.
Yeah, and then you put pistons, rods, springs, head studs, timing chain set, 1,000 horsepower combo.
Done.
They just work.
Yeah, honestly, so simple, eh? Honestly.
Yeah. I'm having evil ideas about building a barra powered drift car now. So how do we clean the deck face now? Just give it a hand clean?
Give it a hand clean, yeah. It's still pretty good.
Yeah, it doesn't need to actually be decked again.
I can actually take it'll take like literally an hour at the machine just to deck it again, you know what I mean?
May as well just do that then.
Yeah, and we'll do it properly.
Do you want to do the head
Get a
as
good
well?
Surface, yeah, we'll do it.
Just give it a
Yeah.
Well, we're talking like a couple of $100
Yeah, not even.
to have another cracker
That's
engine.
what I mean, yeah.
Like we may as
Honestly,
well,
man,
we may as well do it properly. We've done it properly up
Yeah,
until
that's
this
right.
point.
I can't see any evidence of
Pushing
anything,
coolant.
man, nah.
So I wonder if maybe just the
Is these
overflow
when they
bottle's
push?
too small.
Well, which overflow?
Oh, hang on, look.
Just the
Possibly
airflow
there.
one.
Those
Possibly there. See that little bit of like,
Yeah,
that?
it looks like it's kind of
yeah, and here, look at that.
yeah.
Towards
So it
there.
has
Yeah,
a
is,
tiny
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit.
It is there, look.
Yeah,
There and there.
tiniest little
Yeah,
piece.
Tiny bit. Other than that, nothing, man. The rest of them are perfect, but that's the only evidence. So you can see it right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
So it's just pushed a
Yeah,
tiny bit of
yeah,
water.
Yeah.
Pretty good outcome for a... And that's probably when I decided to put more timing in it.
Yeah, it's probably. Other than that, man, no, it's looking pretty good.
Combustion chambers are all clean. There's no carbon build up.
Yeah. Let's flip it.
Roll it over. Blech. Coolant's a bit muddy. Touch of wear right on the top, but same, that's probably also because of my timing.
Yeah.
Too much timing. I'm a mechanic, not a tuner. There's nothing really untoward on that bearing either.
Crank's still perfect. Considering this crankshaft probably would have done probably 200,000 Ks in the previous car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a...
Yeah.
It wasn't a brand new crank, it was literally
Whatever
all wrecker parts, yeah.
No complaints there.
We found the source of the little gold flakes that was sitting on our windage tray. It would appear we've taken one of the thrust faces off of the bearing, the thrust bearing, which is in position 5. It's a semi-common issue to have on bigger power barrows. We didn't think we were going to have that issue with this engine, being that we're not running a trans brake, but it would seem we've underestimated that a little bit. We've already done the 360-degree thrust bearing mod, which basically means you've got to buy 2 complete sets of bearings instead of just buying one set, because factory, the BA, BF, FG engines, and I believe even the single cam stuff, only runs 180-degree thrust bearing.
That's right, yeah.
So the common upgrade is to run 2 of those 180-degree thrusts together, but evidently that wasn't quite enough. So
Very common in barrow-powered cars with Turbo 400 or a Glide behind them. Not so much with ZF, you'll never see that problem, very rarely. But yeah, something definitely that we've got to look in, probably going to a Torrington bearing now, and getting rid of the 360 thrust.
it's just the next progression.
Yeah, that's it.
There's no point putting it back the way it was because we already know what the result is.
That's right, yeah, so we'll get that sorted with a Torrington and get it back together.
Happy days. We'll
That's it.
keep tearing it down. We'll get the
it.
main caps out, we'll get the crank out,
Let's do it.
make sure there's no major damage, and should be sweet, I think. And now we know why our rear main didn't hold up, because
That explains that.
it's basically pushing, or the crank is walking inside the seal, so it's never really designed to operate in that way. So pretty minor fix really,
Yeah.
compared to some of the stuff you guys probably would have seen before.
We've seen a lot worse.
We're just cleaning up the pistons to have a bit of a look on the top of them. The only thing we can't remember when we built the engine is if they're oversized or if they're the standard bore. So we're just having a look for a part number. I think there's one.
Yeah, it is standard bore size.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's
So
fine, yeah.
so this is standard bore. We haven't actually even bored that block. It's only been honed. So there's plenty of life left in that sucker.
New set of rings and bearings. Torrington,
Chuck them in.
done.
See you on the seesaw. Had a pretty successful evening. Torn it all down. Nothing really stood out that we weren't expecting.
Nah, nothing.
I guess the thrust bearing's probably the only thing
that kind of popped up, especially being that we didn't really get any material in the oil through the oil changes.
Right,
but all in all, it's still very healthy. So a bit of a freshen up and we'll get it back in the car.
See, surprisingly in pretty excellent condition for what I went through.
Yeah.
We were, interested to see the thrust, and we found that was a slight issue. But other than that, mate,
No,
I
it's
think
cool.
we went for a lot longer.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave this with you to get it back together for us.
Too easy.
And the next time you guys see it, we're going to put it back in the car.
Too easy.
Thanks a lot, mate. Appreciate your time.
No worries, mate.